First story. I cheated and remarried my affair partner 2 months after the divorce and stepped as mum to my stepson. But he refused me and didn't give a SHT about my new baby. Then he claimed I ruined his mum's life for stupid decisions she took herself. So I told him to go search for his mommy, who abandoned him if he hates me that much. Now my marriage is done, and I'm regretting everything. I 36F have been married to my husband 44M for 5 years now. We have a baby together, born a few months ago. He also has a 17-year-old son from his previous marriage. I'm writing this here because I need honest outside opinions on whether I went too far, even if I was provoked. I'll be upfront. Yes, my relationship with my now husband started as an affair. I was married at the time, and so was he. We met through work. I was a contractor for a project his company hired out. We started talking. It got emotional fast, and then it turned physical. It wasn't planned, and I'm not proud of it, but it happened. When we started the affair, both our marriages were already falling apart. His wife, let's call her Lena, had suspected something was going on. And to be fair, she wasn't wrong. They'd been having issues for a while, lots of fights, periods of separation, and mutual accusations of cheating. My own marriage was basically dead, more like cohabiting roommates than a couple. But still, we both cheated. I won't sugarcoat that. My divorce was finalized first. His took longer, custody negotiation, property stuff. But within a year of us first sleeping together, we were both divorced and officially dating. At the time, his son, then 13, was living with his mum primarily and visited my now husband, his dad, every other weekend. Because the divorce was still fresh and emotions were high, my husband didn't want to introduce me immediately, especially since the custody situation was volatile. So, I didn't meet the kid until about 2 months after the divorce was finalized. I was fully expecting some tension. I mean, the timing wasn't subtle. He would have easily been able to figure out I'd been involved with his dad before the marriage was over. But I wasn't prepared for the level of resentment. He didn't just dislike me, he hated me from day one. He refused to talk to me directly, made snide comments like, "I guess homewreckers get happy endings now," and flat out told his therapist he didn't want to be around me. We tried therapy as a family, but it didn't stick. He attended solo therapy, but wouldn't speak in joint sessions when I was present. The only person he really spoke to was his dad, and even that was rocky. Things got worse after his mum started spiraling. Not long after the divorce, Lena got involved with a guy who introduced her to meth. Things went downhill fast. My husband had to go back to court to get emergency custody when Lena didn't show up to a scheduled exchange. She had taken off with her boyfriend, and there were rumors they were couch surfing or squatting. That was 3 years ago. Nobody's heard from her since. Police filed a missing persons report, but there's been no sign. It destroyed my stepson. He didn't just lose his family, he lost his mum, and not to death, but to something that made her choose drugs and a guy over him. He was 14. My husband has been trying his best, but he's not emotionally available in the way his son needs. He's a provider, not a nurturer. Meanwhile, I'm the person who replaced his mum in the house. I tried to tread lightly, I never tried to mother him, discipline him, or act like anything more than a consistent adult in the house. But nothing was enough. In his eyes, I was the reason everything crumbled. Even little things would set him off. He would lose it over what I cooked for dinner. Once I asked him to lower his music volume because I was on a work call. He told me I don't get to play stepmom dictator, and that I ruined his life. It's like any small frustration became about me. He'd go silent for days, only talk to his dad, and pretend I didn't exist in the house. My husband would get frustrated, but he also carried a lot of guilt. He tried to mediate, but usually just ended up avoiding the tension. I told him more than once that his son hated me, but he always said, "He'll come around, just give him time." It's been 3 years. Then I got pregnant. When we told him, he didn't even pretend to be polite. He immediately asked if it was planned. It was, then said, "Guess now I'm really irrelevant." His dad tried to have a serious talk with him, but it went nowhere. During my pregnancy, he got colder. Some weeks he wouldn't say a single word to me. Other weeks he'd make backhanded comments like, "Don't get too comfortable. Babies cry and dads leave." When I went into labor, he didn't want to come to the hospital. My husband insisted on bringing him, and he sat in the waiting room on his phone the whole time. When I came out with the baby, he barely looked up. No congratulations, no reaction. Just cold silence. Later that night, I caught him watching something on his phone and quietly crying. I don't think he knows I saw him. My husband noticed his mood and spent time with him that night, took him for ice cream, and tried to cheer him up. But he still wouldn't acknowledge the baby. Fast forward to a few weeks ago. Things had been tense but quiet. He still barely interacted with the baby. Then one night he asked if I'd drive him to a school thing because his dad was stuck at work. It was the first time he'd voluntarily asked me for something in months, so I agreed. During the drive, it started casual music, silence, whatever. Then, out of nowhere, he asks, "Why did you ruin my parents' relationship?" I didn't answer him right away. My hands were tight on the steering wheel. I had played out this moment in my head dozens of times, but I still didn't know what I'd say if he ever asked me directly. Finally, I said, "That's complicated." He didn't let it go. "No, it's not. You were with my dad while he was married to my mom. If it wasn't for you, we'd still be a family." I swallowed and said, "Your parents were already having problems. I didn't end their marriage single-handedly." He cut me off. "Don't lie. If you didn't sleep with my dad, he wouldn't have left my mom. She wouldn't have met that guy. She wouldn't be on drugs. She wouldn't be missing. You destroyed her life. You destroyed mine." I was stunned. He had never said it so bluntly before. In every fight, every cold stare, it had been there, but this was the first time he said the words. I tried to keep my voice calm. "I understand you're angry." He barked a bitter laugh. "You don't understand anything. You have your new baby, your new house, your new life. My mom's gone because of you. You don't even care." I snapped. I'm not proud of it, but I snapped. I said, "If you care about her so much, then go find her yourself." The words came out like a slap. The car went completely silent. He stared at me, eyes wide. I immediately regretted it. I said, "I'm sorry. That was out of line. I didn't mean it like that." But he had already turned his face to the window. He didn't say another word for the rest of the ride. When we got to his school, he slammed the door without a goodbye. By the time I got home, my husband was already waiting. The kid had texted him on the way. My husband was furious. "What the hell did you say to him?" I tried to explain. He blamed me for his mom disappearing. He said I ruined her life. I lost my temper. He didn't let me finish. "He's a kid, OP, a hurt, traumatized kid. You're the adult. You can't say things like that to him." I pushed back. He was accusing me of ruining his whole life. "How long do I just sit there and take it?" He said. "Forever. That's what being the adult means. You don't get to throw his pain back at him. You don't get to tell him to go find her. You think he doesn't already wish he could? You think he doesn't already hate himself for not being able to fix her?" That hit me hard. I started crying. I said, "I'm sorry. I know it was cruel. But he hates me. He's been hating me for years. I'm exhausted." My husband calmed down eventually, but he still thinks I crossed a line. He's been distant since. My stepson refuses to even look at me now. He stays in his room with headphones on when I'm home. He only speaks to his dad. He doesn't acknowledge the baby at all. For what it's worth, I do feel guilty. I did cheat. I did start dating his dad before the divorce was final. I did come into his life at the worst possible time. I've tried to be patient. I've tried to be supportive without replacing his mom. But he's still a child who lost his mother to addiction, and in his head, I'm the person who lit the fuse. I'm not trying to paint myself as a victim here. I know I've done damage, but I also feel like I'm being held responsible for things that weren't mine to control. I didn't introduce his mom to drugs. I didn't make her disappear. But in his mind, if not for me, she'd still be here. And in a way, maybe he's right. Maybe if his parents had stayed together, she wouldn't have gone down that road. Now I'm stuck in this house with a husband who's angry at me and a stepson who despises me, with a newborn who has no idea what's going on. And I don't know how to move forward. I don't want to lose my marriage, but I also don't know how much more of this tension I can take. Was I being insensitive? Comments. Comment 1. YTA. And I don't think you realize how much. You didn't just make a mistake or say one SHTTY thing. You became the face of this kid's trauma. You cheated with his dad while his parents were still married, whether or not the paperwork was signed. It doesn't matter how dead the marriage felt to you. To a 13-year-old watching his family fall apart, you were the visible reason. That sticks. Then his mom, the only constant in his life, spirals, disappears, and is maybe dead for all he knows. You get pregnant. His dad builds a new family. The kid's watching all this happen from the sidelines, wondering where he fits in, and the answer is, he doesn't. He sees a woman who helped end his family, now holding a baby like it's her second chance, while he's still stuck in year one of the trauma. And then you told him to go to her, like she's just a bus ride away and not literally missing. That is heartless. That is unforgivable to a child who would probably do anything to have her back. You're not a monster. You're a human who effed it up and reacted emotionally. But that doesn't mean you're not the arsehole. You are. And unless you start owning that instead of explaining it away with, "it was complicated," you're going to lose both your stepson and your marriage. Comment 2. YTA. And I'm saying this as someone who grew up in a house with a new family. Look, divorces don't happen overnight, sure. And sometimes relationships overlap. I get it. But cheating always leaves shrapnel, and you were the other woman. That comes with consequences. Even if the marriage was dead, you knew he was married. He had a kid. You stepped in anyway. That's a selfish move, period. Fast forward. The kid loses his mom, gets a new stepmom, and that woman starts a shiny new family, while his old life disintegrates. Then she tells him to go to his mom, the one who might be literally dead. Holy SHT. He probably does want to go to her. But instead, he's stuck in a house where no one truly wants him. And now you've confirmed it. He knows the baby comes first. He knows his dad picked you over his mom. Now he knows you'd rather he disappear like she did. You didn't just fail to be the bigger person, you made it crystal clear he's not welcome. And no apology in the world fixes that unless you actually change. Be better. Or stop pretending you're trying. Update. It's been about 6 weeks since I made my post, and a lot has happened. Some of it ugly, some of it complicated, some of it surprising. The night after I posted, my stepson still wouldn't speak to me. He only spoke to his dad. It wasn't silence like before, it was purposeful, like he was making a point. My husband slept in the guest room for 2 nights in a row. He said it was because he didn't want to wake the baby, but I knew why. A week later, the dam finally broke. My stepson came to me while I was feeding the baby. Out of nowhere, he said, "I hate you. I wish you'd never been born. And I wish your baby would die so my dad would notice me again." I don't think I've ever been that shocked. I didn't say anything back, I just froze. He stared at me for a second and then walked out. My husband came home an hour later, and when I told him, he didn't yell at the kid. He just sighed and said, "What did you expect?" That stung more than anything. But then, something strange happened 2 days later. The baby was lying on a blanket in the living room, kicking and making noises. My stepson walked by, and the baby reached out a tiny hand towards him. He stopped, just for a second, and looked down. The baby giggled. For the first time, he didn't look angry. He didn't smile either, but he didn't walk away immediately. He stood there for maybe 30 seconds. Then he left without a word. It was the smallest crack in the wall, but it was there. We didn't have time to process it, because a week later the school called. My stepson had been in a fight. Another kid said something about his mom, and he snapped. He broke the kid's nose. He's never been violent before, but apparently this wasn't the first time he'd been baited. The school suspended him for a week. My husband was furious. Not at the fight, but at me. He said if I hadn't said that line in the car, his son wouldn't have been so on edge. I told him that was unfair. We screamed at each other while the baby cried in the other room. That was the first time since we married that I thought, this might not last. After the fight, I pushed hard for family therapy again. My husband didn't want to. My stepson refused outright. But the school counselor basically forced our hand, so we went. It was brutal. The therapist asked my stepson to explain why he's angry. He didn't hold back. He said, "Because she destroyed my mom. Because she stole my dad. Because now there's a baby, and I don't matter." Then he looked right at me and said, "You're just waiting for me to disappear like she did." I cried. My husband sat there stone-faced. The therapist told him that as the father, he needed to address this too. That this wasn't just me and the kid. My husband didn't like hearing that. We left without much resolution. A few days later, my stepson came into our room while we were out and trashed one of my boxes. It was filled with baby keepsakes and our wedding photos. He ripped the wedding photos in half. He didn't touch the baby's things, just the photos of us. My husband grounded him for a weekend, but barely spoke to him beyond that. That same night my husband said, "Maybe he needs space from us. Maybe it's too much here." It felt like he was blaming me. I asked if he wanted me to leave. He said no. But then he said, "I don't know how to fix this." 2 days later, My stepson texted his aunt, my husband's sister. She lives 3 hours away. He asked to stay with her for a while. She said yes. My husband drove him there the next morning. He didn't even say goodbye to me. He just packed and left. The house is quiet now. My husband calls his sister every night to check in. She says he's calmer there. He's enrolled in school near her for the semester. She also told my husband something he didn't tell me right away, that our stepson told her he feels safe with her because she's not the woman who took his mom. That hurt, but I guess it's honest. Meanwhile, my marriage is wobbling. My husband and I barely talk, except about the baby. When we do talk, it turns into blame. He's angry I provoked his son. I'm angry he never set boundaries or acknowledged his role in this. I've been forced to sit with my choices. I actually reached out to my own ex-husband, the man I left for my current husband. We had coffee. He told me he'd forgiven me, but that cheating always leaves somebody behind picking up the pieces. He said, "You didn't just cheat on me. You cheated on the version of yourself that wanted to be better." That gutted me. I don't know what happens next. My stepson is gone for now. The baby's growing. My husband is distant. I'm in therapy by myself now. I know I can't undo the past. But I also know that if I don't find a way to show this kid I'm not his enemy, he's going to be lost to me forever. Comments. Comment 1. Honestly, your husband is a spineless coward, and that's the root of all this. Yeah, you cheated, and that was SHTTY, but it was his job to protect his kid emotionally, to set boundaries, and to step up as a father. Instead, he threw you into the lion's den without prep, expected his kid to magically adjust, and now he's mad you didn't do damage control for his failures. This kid didn't just lose his mom. He lost everything familiar, then had to watch his dad move on like it was just some chapter closed. And instead of making space for his pain, your husband tiptoed around it and shoved you into a mother-shaped void. And now, he's more pissed about the kid breaking a photo than the years of festering resentment he never helped clean up. So yeah, you're not off the hook. You said a horrible thing, and you were part of the affair. But your husband built the dumpster and lit the match. You just walked into the fire with him. That kid leaving, that was him saving himself. Somebody finally gave him space without making him feel like baggage. If you want a relationship with him again, you're going to need more than tears and therapy. You're going to need accountability. And your husband better find his spine before there's nothing left to repair. Comment 2. I don't think people really get how much cumulative grief this boy's been carrying. His mom didn't die, she disappeared. That's a special kind of trauma, especially for a teen. He never got answers. Never got closure. Just watched her life disintegrate. Then you came in. It doesn't matter if you were patient or polite or stayed in your lane. To him, you were the signal that his life had officially moved on without his permission. And then came a new baby living, breathing proof that he'd been replaced. His, "I wish your baby died" comment. That's horrifying. But it's a trauma response. That kid is screaming in the only language he has left. And yeah, he destroyed your wedding photos because they don't symbolize love to him. They symbolize betrayal. You're trying now, and I give you credit. But if your husband doesn't step the F up and own his part, this cycle will just repeat. The fact that he grounded his son for a weekend after a full emotional meltdown is proof that your husband is a SHTTY person. I hope you both wake up before this kid decides the only peace he'll ever get is cutting ties completely. Comment 3. You know what's weirdly missing here? Any love. I mean parental love. That house sounds like a battlefield. People walk on eggshells. Your husband avoids conflict. You're in survival mode. And this kid's just drowning in it. Nobody's fought for this kid emotionally. His mom disappeared into addiction. His dad replaced her. Then you came in, and whether you meant to or not, you built a life around someone who already felt discarded. Even the baby reaching for him moment that should have been a bridge, but no one followed up. That's the saddest part. Everyone in this story is broken, and no one's building anything new. Just trying to pretend it'll get better on its own. The good news, that kid's gone somewhere he chose. That's powerful. And he didn't go to a party or run away, he went to his aunt. That means he still wants connection. He's not lost. Not yet. If you want to be in his life, you're going to have to strip your ego down to nothing and show him who you really are, not the woman who F'd up, but the one who can admit it and do better. And your husband, he needs to stop hiding behind you and actually father his son before it's too late. Update. It's been 5 months since my last update. I waited because I didn't want to write another half story. Now that everything's settled or ended, here it is. My stepson didn't come back. He stayed with his aunt after the school year ended and told my husband he had no plans to return. He wanted to finish high school there, and more importantly, he didn't want to live with us again. He didn't say, because of her, but he didn't have to. It was clear. I never pushed for contact after that. I didn't text. I didn't ask my husband for updates. I didn't send photos of the baby. I backed off completely. Not just physically, emotionally. I stopped trying to be anything to him. I stopped hoping he'd soften. The truth is, I'm not what he needs. Maybe I never was. What I did do was write him a letter. Not to explain myself. Not to justify the affair, or the baby, or what I said to him that day in the car. I didn't even use the word homewrecker, though we both know it was always there between us. I just said I was sorry. I told him I knew what I did, not just the cheating, but the damage afterward. I said I was wrong for ever trying to step into his life without fully understanding what I represented to him. I told him I wouldn't reach out again unless he ever wanted me to. I left it at his aunt's place. She said she gave it to him. She said he read it. Then he asked her not to tell me anything else. So I don't know what he felt. I'm not owed that. Maybe he crumpled it up. Maybe he burned it. Maybe he kept it in a drawer. But I said what I needed to say. Then we got a phone call. About a month after I sent the letter, my husband got a call from police. They'd found Lena's body. It had been weeks, maybe longer. She was in an abandoned building outside the city, overdosed. There was no ID, just a hospital bracelet and an old phone SIM. They matched her fingerprints to an old record from a shoplifting charge years ago. She was gone. My husband flew out to confirm and handle the paperwork. I stayed home. He took our stepson and his sister to the funeral. Private cremation. No service. My husband didn't say much when he got back, but he looked different. He never told me how the funeral went. He didn't have to. After that, we barely spoke. He'd come home, kiss the baby, eat dinner in silence. Sleep on the couch more nights than not. We weren't fighting. We just weren't anything anymore. One night, he came into the bedroom and said, "I think I'm done pretending this works." I said, "Yeah, me too." It wasn't dramatic. No shouting. Just tired honesty. We both knew we were holding a marriage together out of guilt and momentum. He missed his son. I missed who I thought he was before everything broke. We filed a no-contest divorce. Split assets. I got the house. He got the second car and joint custody of our child. We agreed not to drag anything out. No point. Now I'm a single mom with a quiet house. The baby's teething. I still work remote. I go to therapy weekly. My ex-husband, the first one, checks in sometimes. I never expected that, but it's nice. We don't talk about what happened. We just talk like people who used to share a life. As for my stepson, I haven't heard a word since the letter. I don't expect to. I think about him sometimes, mostly when I see a kid his age walking alone or laughing with friends. I hope he's doing okay. I hope he's healing. I hope he finds peace. I'm not going to be part of that, and I've made my peace with it. Being forgiven isn't the same as being redeemed. Sometimes all you get to do is acknowledge the wreckage you left and stay out of the way while others climb out from under it. So no, there's no happy ending here. But there's an ending. That's enough. Thanks to everyone who told me the truth, even when it hurt. Second story. My sister has been living rent-free in my house for 2 years and now wrote a venting confession claiming I'm using her as a free babysitter and that she is done accommodating my needs, ruining her health after I asked her to babysit for once. So I kicked her out of my house so she can save her mental health. A little background story. I 27F married my husband 32M. Have 2 kids 11F and 2M. 2 years ago, I asked my little sister, who was 20 at the time and will turn 22 in a month, to come live with us and help out with kids as I needed. She was in an abusive relationship. She needed a place to stay. At first it was for her to get back on her feet since she's getting out of the situation. The initial thing was that we would pay her $200 per week to watch our 4-month-old at the time MF 6:30 until 2 p.m. And she could use my car anytime she needed to. And she wanted an afternoon job, which was totally fine. She happily accepted. A month had passed, and she told her she's getting depressed being inside every day. She can't do this anymore. I told her that's okay. Her mental health is very important. But she should be able to watch the kids when we need her to, like date night, etc. We found someone else to watch our kid. Fast forward 2 years later, she works full-time, doesn't pay any bills, and doesn't help around the house, not even washing the dishes or taking out the trash or cooking dinner. or even buying groceries or things the house needs. Like no help at all. Last week my husband and I went out for a bit. Mind you, we asked her the weekend before if she could watch the kids, and she said yes. Within an hour of us being out, my husband and I received this. I just want to say this to get this off my chest. This isn't an attack. And this isn't me being ungrateful. I just want you guys to try to consider my point of view. And my point of view is that I don't appreciate being used as a service whenever it's convenient for y'all. I understand this is all I'm good for. But there are some days where I don't want to come home after a 9-hour shift and watch a baby. I didn't decide to have children. You guys did. And the only person who ever appreciates me for it, and only thanks me for it, is my husband. So it has been building up inside me and causing resentment that my own sister will refuse to recognize my accomplishments because it's what I'm supposed to do. I appreciate staying here rent-free, and I've appreciated the opportunity being given to me, but I don't feel like I should dedicate my life to you guys. It's like now I'm being asked to watch the kids like it's already a given, and that it's not something I can ever say no to, because when I do say no, I'm treated like Voldemort. It feels like an obligation when it should feel like a choice. I felt like the time frame should have been more discussed, because I was under the impression I was watching him till 6:30, not 9:30. Thank you for taking the time to read this again. I'm not attacking. I just want to ask for more clarity. At this point, that is all she's good for, watching the kids for us for a few hours once or twice a week. And the accomplishment she's referring to is getting her high school diploma at the age of 21, because she dropped out of school a few months before graduating. She still uses my car when needed to go to her BF's house or work. At this point, I am fed up and just can't take it anymore. My husband tells me she is my sister, and I need to handle it. And he is tired of taking care of a grown-arse adult. So would I be the if I asked her to leave my house, since she refuses to watch the kids when needed? I know that is long, but feel free to ask any questions. OP clarifies the 11F situation. Commenter. NTA. But correct me if I'm wrong. You're saying you had your first kid at 16, while your husband was 21. OP. I was a single teen mom. She's not my husband's biological daughter. He adopted her after we got married. Comments. Comment 1. NTA. It sounds like this arrangement is no longer working for everyone involved, and it's time for you to find other housing. Living rent-free for 2 years while she works full-time means she should have some savings. If she doesn't, that's on her. Give her a written notice to vacate, with the number of days required by state and/or local law, since she is considered a tenant. Comment 2. This is the direction I would go. See how much time you're required to give her as notice, and ask her to move out by that date with written notification. Comment 3. And if any family members complain about family, tell them that they're welcome to house her for 2 years, rent and chore free. You did your part. Comment 4. NTA. She says, it's a given she'll watch the kids, even though you hired a nanny, so she wouldn't have to watch the kids. She has enjoyed your largesse for long enough. Just don't frame it as a punishment. Tell her you're glad you were there for her when she needed it. And after thinking about her text, you can't have her feeling used. You'd like to give her 2 months to find her own place, unless she'd like to leave immediately. Put it in writing and don't back down. Don't go back and forth over what was agreed and whether or not you're angry. She doesn't deserve your energy. She's an ungrateful arse who has started to not just take it for granted, but is trying to drive a wedge between you and your husband. Only he thanks me. No. This will not do. She is a drain on your resources, both emotional and financial. Let her go somewhere she'll get all the appreciation she thinks she deserves. Comment 5. Yes, this is good. Any discussion of emotions should immediately be met with, you're absolutely right. We have both been getting increasingly frustrated, and we really should not have let it get this far. I'm happy we were able to give you these last 2 years to build up your savings, but I love you too much to let our relationship get strained any further. Update. Thank you everyone for your inputs. That definitely helped me make the right decision for my family. Like many suggested, I did sit her down, and I did apologize for not showing any appreciation and the fact that she felt used. And I also pointed out that her watching the kids once or twice a week, it was never last minute, is her only way of contributing to the house. And of course, like many of you predicted, she started yelling that I am attacking her, and that I only took her out of the situation to benefit me and not her. I did confirm that the previous agreement was something I thought would benefit both of us, not just me. I told her since this new living arrangement is not working for anyone at this point, and since she doesn't want to watch the kids, she has 60 days to find better living arrangements. She stated she never said she didn't want to watch the kids, and I cut her off, stating that as her older sister, I don't want to ruin our relationship, so it's best for her to find another place to live. Because her feeling appreciated or not being used and her mental health are very important. It does matter. I even apologized for treating her as my own child, like taking care of her and taking her to all our family vacations for free. I really thought I was helping her, but now I realize I was hurting her. And now she has a great opportunity to grow and live the life she wants to. By the way, we live in San Diego, California. Minimum rent for one bedroom is $2,000. I wish her the best of luck. Thanks again, everyone. Comments. Comment 1. How did she react to this? OP. She started crying and said that wasn't her intention for things to get way out of hand. And I told her we can't go back. Everyone needs to move on. Comment 2. Her actions met consequences, and she realized she overplayed her hand. Good for you. Comment 3. We are currently in the finding out portion of the FOFO model. Comment 4. That's the perfect response. Your sister will face the real world and enjoy her life like she wanted. Comment 5. I just read your previous post. She's just upset her free ride is over. Doesn't put a penny into the house, so her money is her own. Doesn't lift a finger to help with chores. Complains when she's asked to watch the kids a couple days a week. She's had 2 years of free accommodation and full maid service, with free vacations thrown in. No wonder she's backtracking and doesn't want to leave. Chances are she's not saved a cent from the 2 years of free housing. The term habostral springs to mind. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.